G'day and welcome to the Off-Chain Podcast. Don here with you. Our guest today is John Stefanidis, CEO of Real World Gaming, formerly Balthazar DAO. If you've ever wondered about GameFi, John's the guy to speak to. If you've wondered about what are guilds, how do they work, how do you build a community of tens of thousands of people and then mobilize that community for a common goal, or maybe you're a startup founder and things you're not really finding that product market fit, or maybe the market's changing around you and you're wondering, when is a good time to pivot? How do I find opportunities even within the thing that I'm currently doing to go to what's next? John has some great experience in this exact arena. So we're going to have a great chat today. Please stay tuned for this wonderful chat with John Stefanidis. What is your origin story with Web3 in particular? How did you get involved with Web3?
So my original introduction to Web3 was in 2017. A web developer that I used to work with introduced me to a couple of early coins. Back then, he introduced me to BNB. Obviously, the main ones, Bitcoin, ETH. Sort of went down that journey, and I was XRP. I was a very early holder of a lot of those coins, and I sold after like a 10x, and I was stoked with it. And missed out on some generational wealth opportunities early on, but it sort of interested me from a speculative perspective. I was very much a product, I very much bought into the product of speculation. Your typical sort of retail person coming in and exploring these opportunities. It was like nothing I'd ever seen before. It was like the penny stock market, but just on absolute steroids, 24 hours, and very, very cool and exciting. So that was my introduction. And this continued my career in e-commerce, services, businesses, all that sort of stuff is my background. I've got a business in construction and in digital services, e-commerce. So that was sort of what we had done. And then in 2021, the model of a guild presented itself, and Fred actually introduced me to that model. And I'm an operator, very much love operating and getting my hands dirty and getting a team, and we jump on opportunities very quickly. So that's what we did. We got the team involved and we fired the business up, and we decided to pursue that, and it was really successful. For a few months, it was as you know, the guild space was brilliant. We were running.
For a listener who doesn't know what a guild is, what are we talking about?
So what we used to do in the early days of crypto gaming, there were certain games that allowed you to produce a yield in the form of an emission token for playing a game with certain NFT assets. So, if someone's sort of very new to NFTs and stuff, you basically buy an in-game asset, so which is an NFT, which you could think of like buying a Pokemon card, right? And the Pokemon card can be playable in a game. You would then play with that asset, and in exchange for your time, you would be rewarded with a token. And the token had a market and would trade and had value, and people could do certain things with it, right? Like in the Philippines, for example, people were buying food and drinks and all sorts of things with it, internet, and paying for their expenses, and laptops. Wild. And so we were doing that at a very large scale. We had over 70,000 people in the guild, which we grew in a couple of months. We managed to raise some seed capital off the back of that, and it was a really exciting time. We were earning, between 350% to in some games like 1,000% on those assets, right? So thinking like, if the asset costs $1,000, you're making, $4,500, $5,000 a year off that asset, and you're keeping, between 50 and like 70% of that. So it was a really exciting time in crypto. It was a new business model, and it was something that we were very familiar. And enjoyed that type of operation, right? It was very much, managing people, putting in a system to build a community and get people excited and put fun initiatives in and keep them engaged. And they were all earning money. We were earning money. It was a plentiful time in crypto and a great time.
How many people are we talking about? When you say managing people, we're talking about dozens, hundreds, thousands? What are we talking
Tens of thousands of guild members at the time. We had a wait list of, I think. It was huge, yeah. When I say managing, I mean, we had a great team of community managers, but And sorry, I just want to be clear. When I say managing people, I don't mean, managing them as a team. I mean, managing the community and the initiatives around the community, and getting leaders within those communities and putting them in and empowering them and watching them enjoy, bringing joy and more wealth to their community. I feel like it would have at the time. I can't remember now. It's going back a few years, but I believe even the regulators in the Philippines were like changing the structure of their regulation around digital assets and income from digital assets and payment. Certain payment providers came out of nowhere and became unicorn companies, and it just, the whole industry it was a massive, for the Philippines specifically, that was where the biggest market was for this sort of play to, it was called play to earn gaming, but across the world in these countries.
So play to earn, is that a done deal then? Is that still going? What can happen with the guild movement?
Well, I think it has been a done deal for a few years now. We've certainly moved out of it, and I can get into sort of our journey in a bit. But I think the reason play to earn was a thing for so long was because people hadn't seen the narrative play out yet. And the narrative being, if you play this game and there is an unlimited supply of a currency and there is not a sufficient deflationary component, the currency will eventually be worth nothing. And it's just the same as our world here, right? But the reason it sort of carried on was because people were thinking, this thing could go to X valuation. The speculation was strong. They could introduce this, which could do this, and they could. Mm-hmm. And again, it came out to speculation. When people realized that narrative probably wasn't going to play out, macroeconomics changed a little bit. That it just it sort of collapsed in on itself.
Yeah. Well, so as that's happening, would I just kind of see the writing on the wall and move a pivot before then?
Yeah. So we saw the writing on the wall, and so the first thing we did was we moved away from a one game. A lot of guilds were Axie specific guilds. We moved away from that and we moved into multiple games. And it basically became a game of who can farm the token economy of the game before the Ponzi unravels the fastest, right? So you would. That's the truth, right? It was like, who can do this as fast as possible and sell down the tokens and profit from it. And it was sort of like that at the start, and exponentially people just began to try, and even smaller people. We were able to mobilize really quickly, so we were able to farm a lot of different games. I don't want to call them out, but so we did that really quickly.
Game theory, right? If you don't, somebody else will, and then if they do, you lose out. So you must, yeah.
You're absolutely right. It's exactly what happened. So we did that for a while, and then we realized that was the game that was playing out. And then what we did was we rotated to a model where we would no longer take the risk, but if people had already invested in assets, we would take their assets and we would then share the yield three ways. So traditionally, the model would be we share the yield with the player, and then we started sharing the yield with the person that owned the asset, which was no longer us, and the player. So we would take less, but we would also not take on risk. And we did that we built a lot of cool technology around that, right? So we built a full-on lending system. We built a system which we called the portfolio NFT system, which we created a marketplace, and we would sell bundled NFTs that produced a yield, which is really cool. So you could buy like 3 Axies with a player attached to it. That was really exciting. We did a lot of cool stuff, and there was product market fit at that time. We kicked some goals, but we talk about play to earn. It just began to unravel at a rate where the entire crypto gaming space that relied on the yield of assets in games was no longer a thing, and it sort of the landscape changed a lot. There was no longer belief in that the games could, that any of these assets would maintain or go up, and obviously when people aren't punting anymore, there's no speculation, and it unraveled. So
for you come in about 2017, have some early, really good wins, get on some, coins or tokens that have done really, really well. You stay in the Web3 game, if you like, and all of a sudden, after a lot of hard work and kind of really catching the GameFi wave, looking after a community of tens of thousands of people and really, meaningfully engaging with the Web3 ecosystem, but also meaningfully kind of changing people's lives in a certain sense. And then you see the writing on the wall. So that's a pretty decent wave to ride. And then as you see that GameFi, unlimited yield coming to an end, you decide, all right, let's stay in Web3. Let's do something different. Or did you kind of look down as much as you could see this wave finishing, did you see another wave coming, or is it more of a, trying to utilize skills and opportunities you already had and mobilizing into Web3? How did you come up with what was going to be next?
The thing was, it was interesting, right? We had demand for something from the community, right? And we had a drive to stay in the space, right?
Yep.
We thought to ourselves, okay, the play to earn space has collapsed, which usually presents other opportunities. So we thought to ourselves, well, what do we need, right? I think it was around the time the whole Luna FTX thing happened, sort of mid 2022 is really when things went south and sentiment was at an absolute low. We had just raised a second round, which, we were planning on investing in some wallet technology, and we were combining our wallet technology with the lending systems that we had, because we still had a bunch of assets under management, NFTs under management. It was just a really weird time for us. So we had invested a lot of money in this platform, and the community really wanted us to produce something. They were excited for it, and the guild members had made a lot of money through working with us, and they just wanted the next thing that they could work in. So we went back to the drawing board and we said, well, what are the biggest problems that we can solve, not just for ourselves, for our community, and for the greater space? And that led us to the infrastructure side, which was building a crypto wallet. And we thought, at the time, we didn't feel that the onboarding systems were sufficient. And, even when we had people come from retail into the Axie space and they were trying to send us ETH and stuff like that to buy Axie when we were doing the third-party lending, it was very challenging for them. So we thought we need to set up a nice and easy way for people to do that, and that will attract, more money and more attention. And I think that that was a challenging time, but we got a lot of wins through building that wallet system, right? So the wallet was called Babylon. We've also built a gaming SDK along with it. So it was games could not just, they had our infrastructure plus they had the wallet. So it was an all-in-one sort of system. And we built that. We built that sort of mid 2023. That's when the build finished. Took us about 6 months to build that, but sort of 6 to 9 months. And we thought to ourselves, how are we going to bring this to market? And we launched a product called Wallet Wars, which was a game. And we thought to ourselves, what are we really good at? Well, we're really good at building distribution, right? That as an organization, obviously, Fred, my co-founder, owns Finder.com, which is one of the largest, affiliate sites, and I guess they have some of the greatest distribution out of Australian businesses in terms of being able to. So he's got a great amount of skill there, and I obviously have I own a digital marketing agency and have succeeded in a lot of the traditional B2C consumer spaces. So we wanted to use our skills and the team's skills to help bring that product to market. And it was funny because we were speaking to so many games, and every game said to us, well, I don't have enough users yet. It was like, can you? And that was the challenge at the time when we had built that wallet. So we built our own game. So we built Wallet Wars and had a massive NFT minted out really quickly. We had a wait list of 110,000 users. And that was a really exciting time. That happened sort of end of 2023. That went live. The passes went up 20x. It was super fun, sort of cool time. We experimented with new business models. So we combined a game very similar to FOMO 3D. I'm not sure if you remember that game. It was an early, remember FOMO 3D? Yeah, so it was there was a FOMO 3D component, there was a Space Invaders component, there was an NFT play to earn breeding component, and then there was a sweepstake. So we combined a bunch of different big gaming business models and just to see what would work. And we learnt a lot. And one of the things we learnt was that the gambling side and the sweepstake side was where users were the most sticky.
Right.
And that sort of led us to where we are now. That's sort of been the journey since then. It was we went from the yield management to infrastructure with yield management to pure infrastructure, back to B2C to try and bring that infrastructure to life. And then when we did that B2C product, then we learned a lot and we said, okay, this is the space we want to play in.
Okay, so this is the birth of real world gaming then, or was that already begun?
Yeah, so with real world gaming, after Wallet Wars, we launched a product called Brawlers, which is another game, which is live at the moment. There's a fair bit of volume going through it. You can win about $2,500 each side every round. There's a sort of 1.5 minute rounds. Basically, the way Brawlers works, it compares the price of two tokens, similar to Polymarket. So to a degree, it's a prediction market. It's a gamified prediction market. So what you can do is you can bet on which token / asset you think is going to move up more in a fixed time period. So like we've got BTC versus gold, we've got like Doge versus Pepe, and we've created a fighting arena where they can go and battle. And it's a gamified short-term prediction market. And we integrated a lot of the meme culture in that game. And it was a simple game, right? And it is a simple game and it's a lot of fun. And eventually we're going to rotate it into, we've just had an RNG certified for it. We've got a casino license. We're going to roll that into our casino and potentially into other casinos as well. But at the moment, it's a standalone short-term prediction market. Brawlers.ai, Brawlers with a 3, if you want to check it out. And that's been a lot
for sure.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun. So that's sort of what led us to more, and that was peer-to-peer wagering, which I thought was also interesting. And people like that. I feel like they don't feel, it's just a fun way to speculate, right? So that's sort of what led.
So you're meeting a demand that's already there. I mean, I hear this from people who aren't in Web3 or aren't building things in Web3. They say, with a perspective on crypto generally as an industry or as a vertical is, this is all gambling. And so, especially when you look at things like memes and, there are certain things like narratives and certainly there's insiders and communities are very big in that kind of realm as well. But at the end of the day, there's that element of gambling about it. And so it is part of what you're doing, just seeing, well, this is already where people are. This is where they're itching. Let's provide the scratching. Or is this kind of, what sets you apart from other decentralized gaming protocols?
Yeah, so you're absolutely right in saying we just want to give people the scratch to their itch, and I think that we went down the journey of trying to generate like fresh demand. But I think ultimately like that is what crypto is, like money and internet in one, right? And it just lets people try and make more of that a lot faster and easier. Right. So not to go on too much of a tangent, but like we saw what happened recently with Goatius Maximus, and when Mark Andreessen gave that Truth Terminal $50,000 and it ended up minting a $500 million meme coin. The AI was smart enough to recognize that meme coins and speculation is really product market fit in crypto. But meme coins at the moment, because at the moment that meme coins give you the most volatility, the most speculation. When it comes to casinos, I think for us, I don't want to get into our go-to-market too much because we've got something pretty unique that we're cooking. But on the casino side, it sort of provides like stable volatility. And I think that, you can create casino games that, play on either side of the spectrum. You can go something that's a little less volatile, I think like a peer-to-peer prediction market where, you've got an even chance to win either way if you understand the way prices are moving, and then maybe the house doesn't take risk, but you playing against your peers, versus like you can create the most messed up slot machines or games like crash games and dice games and games like Limbo and stuff like that. So it sort of provides like a spectrum of volatility where you've got like meme coins that you can do 1,000x on overnight. It's crazy, right? So but I think it is absolutely speculation and the opportunity to make money is absolutely the product in crypto. In terms of what differentiates our game with Brawlers, we're taking the P2P prediction market business model and we're turning it into something that's a little bit more gamified and short term, right? So the outcomes, every minute and a half, you win the money, right? So whereas you don't have to wait too long, it's fair. We use a pricing oracle, a well-known pricing oracle, to determine the outcome, and there's liquidity every round. So it's a fun, easy way to speculate. So
yeah, gotcha. So is this a thing that you think, like with the play to earn, that kind of had its heyday and then kind of disappeared? What I guess sets this apart, obviously, other than the fact that people have been gambling for thousands of years, or probably as long as people have been around, people have wagered on things, and now adding that gamified aspect, which is already something that people enjoy gaming and people seem to enjoy gambling, and so you put those two things together. Is this the next iteration, or is this something that you think is going to be kind of foundationally important for the next period of time?
I think it's foundationally important. I think prediction markets have been around for a while and have really been brought to prominence by the presidential election, mostly like I think that presidential. And
I've never heard them mentioned before and on a news broadcast, and they mentioned all the time in news broadcasts, at least they, in the lead up to the US election, they were.
Absolutely. We just needed that product market fit, right? And that was, you needed the catalyst that was strong enough to really get people in and betting, right? And the right content, if you want to call it content. And that was the presidential election, right? And I think now crypto is getting more regulated in the US. It's becoming a lot more institutional, which means, just happens that it's also being trusted more, right? And I think that people are looking for more ways to use it online. In prediction markets, on-chain prediction markets are an interesting way to do that. I think that at its core, obviously Bitcoin is peer-to-peer money transfer, right? And I think that being able to bet without a third party is also important. And I think that that's what the prediction markets give you, right? You're not trading against the bookie. You're essentially trading against your people. So I think to answer your question, I think that they are here to stay. And I think the difference between something like this and something like Axie, and not just our game, but in general, the peer-to-peer wagering model is different because it's sustainable economically. And I think it's completely different from Axie, just purely for that.
Yeah, man. You mentioned AI. Obviously, it's kind of one of those radical shifts across the board, maybe even for humanity generally. But certainly, you must be thinking about AI in terms of both utilizing it and also trying to combat the use of AI to fix or interfere with your platform. How are you thinking about AI, both from a positive or generative sense, but also in that kind of defensive way?
Look, I think we use AI. So we use AI in a few ways, right? Our actual game has an AI engine for the fighting. So the actual fights themselves are generated using an AI engine, which shows, if this person punches, then I should kick. Then if they kick, I should throw them. So like operationally, we have AI as part of our platform. And we use AI for, we use LLMs to help us with all sorts of things within the organization, create engineering efficiencies. So I think I see it as a good thing. In terms of defense against AI, I'm not sure if it's there yet. In terms of, being something that we need to worry about. Obviously it's just a data source, right? And it's just going to accelerate things. And I think that, we're probably, I'm not thinking about a defense for AI on my platform at the moment. Obviously, as you're running a casino, we have certain processes in place to identify certain behaviors that could be predatory or, people that shouldn't be using the platform. And that's fine. And, people use AI to do that. We have tools that are able to detect that or detect certain behavior. But in general, I see it as a good thing. I think most importantly, people need to be careful online of, false claims around what is AI or what isn't AI. For example, at the moment, you're seeing a lot of projects like let's call them AI meme coins. It's been I honestly haven't seen a meta like this. It has gone absolutely viral. The amount of appetite to invest in these things over the last let's call it 3 or 4 days since that Goatee maximum sort of came out has just been insane. There was one yesterday I was watching that claimed to be a trading bot that would trade pump fund tokens, and it was the most interesting business model where it would announce that it bought a token. It had enough distribution to create a self-fulfilling prophecy of carry traders. Then it would dump on the carry traders. It would claim a profit. It would use that profit to buy its own token back and announce that. And it basically created this price index that was going up, and then people figured that out. And anyway, I could go deeper on that, but the point is, I don't think it was AI at all. I think it was just a bunch of smart, that were.
Yeah.
And you see that a lot, right? So I think people need to be, careful of that. But I think AI is absolutely going to have an impact on the way we do business and, the way we operate.
Yeah. Well, given that the P2P or PVP, maybe even, it's kind of key to what you've built, not even just building, but have built. Can PVP games really be truly decentralized, or do we always need to have what level of centralization is necessary really to create faster, better gameplay, make sure everyone's playing by the rules, etc.? At what point do you kind of cross that threshold into, we're so decentralized now that there is risk, or does blockchain actually help solve those risks?
I think it can be completely decentralized. I think as long as there's liquidity and there's demand on both sides, I think markets are like relatively efficient. So if there's AI, let's use AI as an example to try and identify an inefficiency and exploit that. I think if it can be done on one side, then it can almost certainly be done on the other side. I think these markets are efficient, and I think that will end up balancing out. So I think in terms of like on-chain wagering, I think it absolutely be the actual mechanism itself can be completely decentralized. I think management of data maybe is one thing to make sure the data feeds are reliable.
Sure.
I think that's important. I think onboarding, on-ramping, all that sort of stuff I think is important. Sort of the curation of the experience is quite important, but the actual function itself, I think, it can be completely decentralized, and it should be. I think it's fun.
Well, are there any benefits to having a centralized component? We think decentralized is actually the way to go.
Well, if we're talking about gambling, the second you add a centralized component to the core mechanism, then you're essentially becoming the casino, right? You're becoming the house again, or you have some form of the house. And there's the benefits are typically, right, if there's no liquidity on the peer-to-peer side, you can provide liquidity through being a house or through injecting yourself into the equation, and that can be beneficial to the users if they want to bet big or they want to have more fun, whatever that might be. But in terms of operationally, I think there are different products where the consumer is involved. The business owner is involved, and there is a third party there as a centralized component. But we're certainly seeing a blend across the market, and that's okay. So, like you take poly markets, for example, people that, they can approve markets that get added onto there and all that sort of stuff. So, I think a mix is important, but functionally, I think it's nice to have the complete decentralization.
Yeah, gotcha. So, what are you most excited about the coming year? So the last, dying month or two of this year, and then into 2025, what's kind of big on your radar?
The two big things on our radar, we're talking about in terms of what we're doing, or you mean in the market in general?
Well, let's go for what you're doing first, and then we'll branch out to the market.
Yeah, I don't want to hard show you. I think for us, the most important things are our token launch, which is coming in this final quarter, and the launch of our casino. And in particular, I'm excited about our go-to-market strategy, which hasn't been done before in the casino space, and we're excited to make a lot of noise about it and come into the market with something special, with an absolute bang. So I think those are the two most important things, and getting the real token, which was originally the BZR token, which is rebranded, into the market. So I think that those are probably the most important things and the most exciting things for us at a top level. And then I'm excited for the US election. I don't think that Trump's win has been factored in yet, and I think that that could be great for Bitcoin. I'm excited to see what he does in terms of, if he wins, hopefully he does win, in terms of regulation and providing a framework for US entrepreneurs and American-based businesses to do more with crypto. I'm really excited for that. I think once people stop feeling like it's a gray area market, they don't have to worry about complex company setups and structural stuff like that to create. They can just openly create and be within and have the right framework there to do that. Like that for me is really exciting, and I'm eager to see it.
Yeah, and that regulatory uncertainty has stunted growth in this market by, I don't know how many kind of factors we're talking about, but in terms of people coming in, people thinking about it, liquidity coming in, investors talking about it, the regulatory risk has been very significant. And so some stability, some certainty, I think would be really helpful, like globally across the board. Yeah. So we've got a lot of founders who watch or listen to the show. You have been a founder in many different kind of areas, and you've been a founder who has pivoted along the way and stayed in the meta, if you like, of what's going on, even maybe now getting ahead of that, like preparing for the rise of what's coming next. So you're coming up to launch. What are some of the things as a founder, what are some of the key things going through your mind at the moment coming into a launch like you're coming into?
On the token side, there's so many. So I think making sure you launch with velocity, because you can only launch once. So making sure you get, and you think about things properly, right? And what I mean by that is, like, when you go to market, think about a really good creative concept. Think about really sell yourself properly and what you guys are doing, and focus on the points that are important for your community to know and to build loyalty around. I think that's important. Be open with your community, communicate regularly, focus on what you're doing. Don't worry about what other people are doing. You're a brilliant entrepreneur and you are the one that needs to get the win. So just focus on what you're doing, stay in your own lane, and just aim for the stars, right? And I think that's important. I think operationally, when you're launching products, making sure you're running as lean as you need to, always assessing your org structure, your goals, making sure that you empower your team. You can't do it yourself. You need a brilliant team around you. Doesn't matter how big you are or small you are, you're always going to have a couple of key guys around you, and making sure that they're feeling empowered and they're on that journey with you and they're correctly incentivized. I think also having a realistic outlook on what could go right or wrong is really important. So understanding that green candles are the best marketing, and sometimes if you launch a public asset and you get the green candles, like when we launched our raw passes, in I think it was October last year, they just kept going up for like a few months, and that built a lot of distribution for us, right? And a lot of velocity, right? So I think that's important. But I think you also have to have a plan for what happens if that doesn't happen, right? What do we do with our capital? Can we use our capital to redeploy to try and get that going? And yeah, I think having a realistic outlook on what could go right and what could go wrong is really important.
Yeah, man. What do you put those green candles down to? Is that just having really great community, a really great community kind of management, a really good go-to-market strategy? Is it just the inherent or intrinsic value in those things where it was very easy to communicate?
Having a good roadmap, communicating regularly, and having a prospect to have it depends on the market. It really depends on the market. So in a hardcore bull case, a really strong narrative will carry you a long way for a long time. In a mid to low market, you need to be able to draw out how you're going to make money and how the token price is going to go up, right? And that can be done through AMAs. It can be done through a really good white paper, regular updates, on-chain transparency around revenue and stuff like that. Like all our wallets were always public in terms of when we're doing NFT sales and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, I think those things are important. Making sure that in a market, even in this market, I think it's important to show people how you're going to make money. Unless you're just launching an AI shitcoin, then you just need as much velocity as you can have.
Yeah. Yeah, fair enough. So one of the things I like to ask every guest that comes on the show is, what would you say is your most contrarian view? Like if everybody's thinking one thing, but you see things differently, or everyone's going one direction and you think, actually, we should be traveling upstream or this way. Do you have any particularly contrary? It doesn't have to be about Web3 or crypto specifically, but just anything that we could learn from you.
I think put the right people in the right jobs, I think is the most important thing. Get your team right. I think that's the most important thing, and have a strong vision as a founder. I think those are probably the two most important things. Strong team, strong vision. I would say those are the two most important things.
Okay, good, man. And so for the token launch, for the casino launch, has there been any pushback from your community in regard to particular pivots that you've done? Or because again, you've seen, we have rolled out this kind of game, and people seem to be utilizing this aspect of the game a lot, and so we zoom in on that, and then people use this aspect of that a lot, so we zoom in on that, and so what we have now is what people really want. Has there been much pushback to casino in general, pushback to direction specifically?
It's a good question. We actually, so we don't make all of the decisions ourselves. We actually put certain votes out to the community, and launching the casino was one of those things we put out to the community. So let me actually bring it up and I'll tell you what the votes were. So we put out a DAO proposal for our raw pass holders, build and launch a full-on casino. And we had 99.63% voters say yes and 0.37% say no. So yeah, our community was overwhelmingly in favor of it. I think they know that we're brilliant marketers and that we're great at bringing things to market, sort of GTM, stuff like that. So I think, it was it was a bit of a no-brainer, and we presented it to our community, and they were really excited about it. So yeah,
that's cool, man. Are there any fears when it comes to, like, you see that result and you think, oh wow, our community overwhelmingly wants us to move in this direction, casino? Are there any fears with regard to, like, again, we talked about the regulatory environment, living in Australia, the word casino, every time you see the casino or a casino in the news, in Australia at least, it's never in a good way or in a good light, or there's always some controversy around it. Tell me how you're thinking about, how do you think through things like, well, what about the regulatory environment and casinos in general?
Yeah, so our operations are decentralized and distributed internationally. So like I'm here, I'm sort of one of a couple of people here, but we've got people all over in Asia and South America and the US. So our license is an international casino license, and we won't be targeting Australian people or advertising to Australian people, for example. Mm-hmm. So we're aware of the strict regulatory landscape here, and it's not an area that we want to play in. So
yeah, gotcha.
Yeah.
So part of your thinking is then with that jurisdictional sense of where can we play and where is open to, what we're hoping to be able to do. That's forming part of your thinking on that.
100%. Yeah, it's important to work in regulations that are accepting of what we're doing, and the people that, and with people that channels that we can communicate with different communities internationally. I think that's important. But yeah, definitely not Australia. This out of the scope for us.
Yeah, for sure. And if someone wants to find out more about the launch, the casino, or hear from you personally more, what can they find you online?
Yeah, you can hit me on Real World John on Twitter. We've got RealBet.io on Twitter as well for the casino. You've got Real World Gaming. You can find most of our sort of core communication hub is Twitter, and you can find our Discord and our website and realworldgaming.io. You can find us online. So yeah.
Great, man. All the best for the launch, and looking forward to seeing how you go. If you're up for it, love to have you back on early next year to hear about how you went and talk about those green candles.
Dude, would love to. Let's do it.
All right, good on you.
All right, thanks, mate.
Thank you for joining us today. We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Off-Chain Podcast. We love bringing you great guests like John. Hope we've inspired you to learn more about Web3, about technology, thinking about the future and how you might be a part of building it. As always, please like, subscribe, or better yet, share this episode with a friend. Help us spread the word, and join us again next week for another great episode of Off-Chain. Till then, take care.